It was supposed to be the perfect wedding day, under the sprawling oak tree in the heart of the village of Riverside, where the sun painted everything in golden hues, and the air hummed with ancient blessings passed down from elders. Anna, the radiant bride, stood in her flowing white gown embroidered with symbols of hope and unity, her eyes locked on her groom, Charles, as the pastor raised his hands to seal their union with words of eternal love. But as his voice boomed the final vow, a chill wind whispered through the leaves, kicking up dust like unseen spirits stirring, and Anna felt a shadow creep over her soul, cold and unrelenting. What she didn't know was that inviting this mysterious pastor would unleash a curse that no ring could ever bind, turning their joyous day into a nightmare woven from the threads of forgotten folklore. Stick around, because by the end of this tale, you'll think twice before letting just any holy man lay hands on your sacred ceremony. Your I do might come with strings attached from the other side. This isn't just another wedding story, it's a whisper from the winds of African folklore, adapted and passed down through generations across the seas to our shores, warning of the hidden dangers lurking in robes of righteousness and the perils of blending old spirits with new rituals. What dark secret did this pastor carry in his heart? Why did the ancestors rise up in fury that fateful day? How did one simple ceremony twist love into a web of terror and betrayal? And most chilling of all, could this happen at your own wedding? The answers will grip you like the roots of an ancient tree, pulling you deeper into the mystery with every breath. If that airy chill is creeping up your spine already, pause for just a second and drop Pastor's Shadow in the comments below. Oh, and let me know where you're watching from. Are you in Atlanta, Lagos, or somewhere the spirits whisper to? Hit that subscribe button to keep these African folktales coming, and let's see who's locked in for the big twist. Our story unfolds in the quiet village of Riverside, nestled along the winding banks of a mighty river in the heart of West Africa, where folktales aren't mere entertainment, they're living lessons etched into the soil, the water, and the very air the people breathe. Anna was the village's shining star, a young woman with skin glowing like warm honey under the sun, eyes that sparkled with dreams, and a laugh that could chase away even the darkest clouds. She grew up under the watchful care of her grandmother, Elizabeth, who taught her the old ways, how to weave baskets from river reeds, how to honor the spirits that guarded their land, and how to listen to the whispers of the wind for signs of trouble ahead. But Anna was a dreamer at heart, yearning for a life that blended the traditions of her ancestors with the modern world she heard about in stories from travelers, tales of bustling cities, electric lights, and love stories that spanned oceans. Charles was her perfect match, a sturdy young farmer with broad shoulders from years of tilling the fertile earth, hands roughened by honest work, and a heart as reliable as the rising sun. They first crossed paths during the village's annual harvest festival, where the drums pounded out rhythms that seemed to draw souls together like magnets. Amid the dancing flames of bonfires and the sweet scent of roasting yam, Charles approached Anna with a shy smile, offering her a fresh bunch of wildflowers he'd picked at dawn. From that moment, their romance blossomed like a flower in the rainy season. He courted her with simple yet heartfelt gifts, carved wooden beads symbolizing protection, ripe mangoes shared under the stars, and promises of a future filled with laughter, children, and a home built strong against any storm. The villagers buzzed with approval. Their union felt like it was written in the stars, blessed by both the living and the departed. But Anna's grandmother, Elizabeth, pulled her aside one evening as they sat by the flickering firelight, her voice low and grave. "My child," she said, her wrinkled hands clasping Anna's. Not all who don the collar of faith speak for the light. Some carry shadows in their pockets disguised as holy words. Choose your officiant wisely, for weddings bridge the worlds of the seen and unseen. Anna nodded politely, but in her youthful optimism, she dismissed it as the ramblings of an elder clinging to outdated superstitions. After all, the world was changing. Radios brought news from faraway lands, and Anna wanted her wedding to reflect that progress. She insisted on inviting a pastor from the nearby town, a man of the cloth, who could add a touch of modernity to their traditional ceremony, blending Bible verses with the ancestral chants. Word of their plans spread like wildfire through the village, and soon enough, Pastor Daniel arrived on a dusty path, riding in on an old bicycle that creaked under his weight. He was a tall figure with a commanding presence, his voice deep like rolling thunder, his eyes sharp and piercing as if they could see straight through to a person's soul. He claimed to have journeyed from the big city of Lagos, where he'd studied under renowned preachers, bringing with him blessings from distant churches and promises of divine favor. Charles felt a twinge of unease the moment he shook the pastor's hand. It was cold, unnaturally so, like gripping a stone pulled from the riverbed. But Anna was enchanted. He'll make our day unforgettable, she beamed, like the weddings in those American movies we've heard about. As the wedding preparations ramped up, the village transformed into a hive of activity. Women pounded fufu in large mortars, their rhythmic thuds echoing like a heartbeat, while men slaughtered goats for the feast, the air filling with the savory aroma of spices and smoke. Children ran about stringing colorful banners from hut to hut, and elders gathered herbs for blessings. But amid the joy, subtle signs began to emerge, flickering like distant lightning on the horizon, warning of an approaching storm. Pastor Daniel refused to join in the communal meals, claiming he was fasting for spiritual purity, his eyes darting away whenever someone offered him a bowl of stew. He clutched his worn Bible at all times, never letting it out of his sight, its leather cover cracked and faded, pages yellowed with age and marked with strange symbols that looked more like ancient runes than holy script. Sarah, Anna's closest friend and confidant, a sharp-witted weaver with a keen eye for details, noticed the oddities first. During a late-night chat as they sewed the final touches on Anna's gown, Sarah whispered, "Something feels off about that pastor's sister. I saw him muttering prayers by the river last night in a language that twisted like snakes in the grass. It didn't sound like any Bible tongue I've heard." Anna laughed it off, her excitement blinding her to the red flags. "You're just nervous for me," she teased. "He's here to bless us, not curse us." But deep down, a tiny seed of doubt took root, though she pushed it aside, focusing instead on her dreams of the perfect day, vows exchanged, dances under the stars, and a lifetime of happiness with Charles. The days leading up to the ceremony were filled with more omens that the villagers whispered about in hushed tones. One morning, a flock of ravens gathered unusually around the oak tree altar, their calls sounding like mocking laughter. Charles found his farming tools rearranged in strange patterns overnight, as if invisible hands had meddled. And Pastor Daniel? He spent hours alone in a borrowed hut, chanting softly, the walls seeming to absorb his words like thirsty earth. Elizabeth, Anna's grandmother, tried once more to warn her, sharing an old folk tale by the fire. Long ago, a wandering preacher came to a village, much like ours, promising miracles. But he was no man of God. He was a spirit in disguise, feeding on the joy of unions to grow his power. Beware, Anna, for history echoes if we don't listen. Still, the wedding day arrived with the promise of perfection. The sky a brilliant blue canvas overhead. Villagers donned their finest attire, women in vibrant wrappers tied with intricate knots, men in embroidered shirts that told stories of heritage. The air was thick with the mingled scents of jollof rice simmering in massive pots, fresh incense burning to honor the ancestors, and wildflowers scattered along the path. The great oak tree stood as the natural altar, its massive branches stretching out like protective arms, legends saying it connected the world of the living to the realm of spirits, allowing blessings or curses to flow freely. Anna walked the aisle path, lined with shimmering cowrie shells, each step a symbol of prosperity, her heart pounding with a mix of joy and that lingering unease she couldn't quite shake. Charles waited at the end, his face lit with pure love, his traditional beads clicking softly as he shifted. Pastor Daniel stepped forward, his robes billowing in a sudden breeze, and began the ceremony with a flourish. Dear friends and family, he intoned, his voice resonating like a deep drum that vibrated through the ground. We gather today under the eyes of heaven to unite these two souls in holy matrimony. They exchanged their vows, words of loyalty, and eternal companionship, and then the rings, simple bands woven with gold threads, meant to symbolize unbreakable bonds forged in fire. As Pastor Daniel pronounced them husband and wife, lifting his hands in a dramatic blessing, a single raven called loudly from the branches above, and the wind whipped up small dust devils that danced around the guests' feet. Anna leaned in to kiss Charles, sealing the moment, but as their lips met, a strange tingling spread through her, like an electric current, cold and foreign, leaving her with an aftertaste of something metallic, like old blood. That night, in the privacy of their new marital hut adorned with fresh palm leaves and glowing lanterns, the real trouble began. Anna tossed in her sleep, plagued by vivid dreams, shadowy figures wrapping around her like creeping vines, whispering demands for payment in voices that echoed Pastor Daniel's thunderous tone. Charles, too, stirred restlessly, mumbling about rivers calling his name. By morning, the village was abuzz with unease, but Anna chalked it up to wedding jitters. Until Charles woke with a sudden fever, his skin hot to the touch and marked by faint web-like scars that spidered across his chest like invisible ink revealed by heat. Word spread quickly, and the village elder, a wise man named Samuel, summoned the newlyweds to his hut. Examining Charles under the dim light of an oil lamp, Samuel's face grew grave. These are no ordinary marks, he declared, tracing the patterns with a gnarled finger. They are signs of a spirit pact, bindings from the other side. Who officiated your union? Who spoke the words that tied your souls? Anna, her voice trembling, confessed about inviting Pastor Daniel from the town. Samuel's eyes widened in alarm and he leaned back, stroking his beard. Child, you may have opened a door that should have stayed shut. The aftermath crashed over Riverside like a relentless storm, gathering force with each passing hour. Charles's fever raged on, leaving him bedridden and delirious, ranting about voices from the deep river demanding a toll for their blessing. Anna, torn between fear and determination, rushed to the village healer, an elderly woman named Grace, known for her knowledge of herbs and spirits. Grace brewed a potent tea from rare roots, but as she examined the scars on Charles's skin, her expression darkened. These webs, she whispered, they are portals, gateways for something unholy to feed. The ceremony wasn't a union, it was a trap. Desperate for answers, Anna confided in her friend Sarah, who wasted no time digging into Pastor Daniel's background. Sarah questioned passing merchants and travelers at the village market. Her inquiries subtle but persistent. One grizzled trader, sipping palm wine under a shade tree, recalled seeing a man matching Daniel's description in a distant marketplace. Not preaching, but bargaining for forbidden relics. Old bones etched with curses, charms wrapped in black cloth, items no true man of God would touch. He haggled like a demon, the trader muttered, eyes glowing with greed. A false lead emerged early on, sending a group of villagers, including Anna, to a nearby abandoned shrine rumored to house wandering spirits. There, they found remnants of rituals, burnt candles, and scattered ashes, but no sign of the pastor. The priestess guarding the site laughed bitterly when told of their quest. That man is no servant of the divine. He collects weddings like a hunter gathers trophies, stealing joy to fuel his own darkness. But it was all a diversion. The real trail circled back to Riverside's own riverbank, the very spot where Anna's long lost aunt Lydia had vanished decades ago after her own wedding ceremony, officiated by a mysterious stranger. Whoa, if that revelation just shook you, drop River Spirit in the comments and tell me where you're tuning in from. New York, Accra, or maybe a quiet village like Riverside. Smash that subscribe button if you're hooked on these folk tales because the next twist is even wilder. Let's see who's staying for the end. As days turned to weeks, public murmurs in the village swelled into a full blown frenzy. Griots, the storytellers of old, gathered by the evening fires, weaving warnings into their songs. Beware the pastor with eyes like endless voids, for he twists vows into chains that bind the soul forever. Children whispered tales of shadows lurking near the oak tree, and elders held emergency councils, debating how to appease the restless ancestors. Anna's dreams grew more intense night after night. Lydia appearing as a ghostly figure, her face pale and pleading, mouthing words like, break the bond before it devours you both. The weight of it all pressed on Anna, but she refused to break, drawing strength from her grandmother Elizabeth's stories of resilient women who faced down spirits and emerged victorious. Clues began to pile up, like harvested grains in a barn. Sarah discovered a hidden compartment in Pastor Daniel's abandoned bicycle, tucked away in the village storage hut. It contained scraps of paper with cryptic notes, lists of names, dates of weddings, and symbols matching the scars on Charles's body. One elder, poring over ancient scrolls, recognized the runes as belonging to river spirits, entities known in folklore for granting boons but exacting heavy prices, often through deceptive intermediaries. Your family line, Samuel the elder explained to Anna, carries guardian blood, sacred protectors against such forces. That's why he targeted you, to siphon that power through your vows. The tension built to a boiling point during a village wide gathering under the oak tree, where Samuel led a ritual to summon truths from the beyond. Herbs were burned in a sacred fire, their smoke twisting into ethereal shapes that danced in the air. A hooded figure, a laughing face, chains wrapping around two lovers. Anna stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her throat. Why us? What do you want? The wind howled in response, and a disembodied voice echoed through the branches. For power eternal, for souls to claim. The revelation struck like a bolt of lightning splitting the sky, illuminating the horrifying truth in stark clarity. Pastor Daniel wasn't a mere man, he was a river spirit incarnate, exiled long ago from the watery depths for his insatiable greed, now masquerading as a holy figure to prey on unsuspecting weddings. Decades earlier, he had officiated Lydia's ceremony, luring her to the river afterward, and stealing her soul through the twisted vows, using it to sustain his earthly form. Anna's invitation had been like a beacon, drawing him back to Riverside to repeat the ritual, binding her and Charles in an invisible web of eternal servitude. The scars on Charles? They were living portals, slowly draining his life force to feed the spirit's hunger, while Anna's dreams were Lydia's desperate attempts to warn her niece from the other side. But the twist ran even deeper, burrowing into the heart of the folklore like roots seeking water. Hidden within the pages of Pastor Daniel's Bible, which the villagers had recovered from his hut, was a concealed compartment holding a blood-stained confession. I am bound as they are bound, trapped by my own greed. It turned out Lydia's soul hadn't been fully consumed. She had fought back from within the spirit's grasp, weakening him over the years and waiting for a chance to strike. In a climactic council under the full moon, with the entire village chanting protective incantations, they shattered the Bible's spine with a ritual hammer forged from sacred iron. A burst of ethereal light erupted, and Lydia's spectral form materialized briefly, her eyes filled with peace as she guided Anna's hand to sever the cursed rings with a silver dagger blessed by the elders. Charles's fever broke almost immediately, the scars fading like mist in the morning sun, and the village exhaled a collective sigh of relief. Anna embraced him under the oak tree, their love renewed and stronger, forged in the fire of trial. The ancestors seemed appeased, the river's waters calming to a gentle flow. Yet, as with all great folk tales, one final surprise lingered in the shadows, waiting to pounce like a hidden predator. As peace slowly returned to Riverside, Anna discovered a charred note among the Bible's ashes, written in Lydia's elegant handwriting. Choose your holy guide with care, for some vows chain the soul eternally. But beware, for my captor's brother walks among the town churches still, seeking his next bride. Whispers spread anew, tales of another disguised spirit lurking in modern pulpits, hinting that the cycle of deception might not be broken after all, but merely paused. This timeless folktale, born from the rich soil of African wisdom and carried across oceans to resonate with us today, serves as a stark reminder. Not all blessings are pure, and weddings are bridges between worlds. Invite the wrong guardian, and darkness may cross over with them. In our fast paced lives, where traditions mix with the new, it's easy to overlook the old warnings, but they endure for a reason. Was the cause truly vanquished, or does it bide its time, waiting for the next unsuspecting I do? Would you risk handing your ceremony to a stranger after hearing this? Think on it. The spirits might be listening. What do you believe became of Pastor Daniel? Is he out there right now, eyeing another wedding invitation? Or perhaps his brother is closer than we think? Drop your wildest theories in the comments below. I promise, I read every single one, and they inspire the next tales. If this story has you rethinking your own wedding plans or just left you with that spine tingling thrill, smash that like button, subscribe to Folktale Window for more enchanting folktales that blend mystery, magic, and life lessons, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a whisper from the ancestors.